It's coming. It's a lot of work.
Mhm.
Hi, everybody. This is Penda James, and I am having an impromptu chat right now with Taurus Blannon. If you are unfamiliar with me, I am a scribe coach. And what I do is I help people get unstuck, execute their goals, and inscribe their legacy. And I wanted to, at the behest of Taurus, introduce the world to this young man who today, earlier this morning, finally saw his book live on the internet. And we wanted to talk live about what the process was like and just share some of our experiences working together. And I think it's important because, as we were kind of talking offline, as a scribe coach, sometimes I do things and they become passion projects. And then it gets me into this rut where I'm just working to make sure that other people get what they need. And I'm denying myself in the process. And I was explaining to Taurus offline that sometimes during this process, I felt myself wanting and desiring for this book to be done because I knew that he needed it. So, to everybody who's watching, I want to introduce you to Taurus Blannon. Taurus, tell us who you are and what you want us to know about you.
I'm Taurus Blannon. I'm a scribe. I'm an author. Thanks to Penda James. First novel, The Obese in Me, out now on Amazon Kindle, digital. Father of two. I'm a survivor. I'm an overcomer of child molestation at a very early age, which led to food abuse, food addiction, actually. I would liken and want to disrespect anyone that has ever gone through the harsh tragedies of using drugs or heroin. But as you can see, as you read in the book, I referred to my food addiction as fixing, where I would literally do whatever it was I needed to do to get food because it was my fuel. I was robbing people. It didn't matter. I would go and get food and I would hide to go eat it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I overcame that morbid obesity. At my heaviest, I was really close to 600 pounds and I was on my way out of here. But, the Most High didn't see fit for me to leave here. And, you're just as much as part of the story as um, my story. And that's why it's so fitting that it's like I don't look at it just solely as my book. I look at it as our book. Whenever I started creating, it wasn't something that I wanted to do alone. I always had this vision of having a team, a strict, tight team where if I was going to do some camera work, I have someone over here to do it. If I was going to have some editing, this particular person do it. I'm just a meticulous person like that. Like, matter of fact, if I go to a restaurant one time and I had a good experience, I want that same spot every time I go to that restaurant. If I go to a hotel room, I want that same room every time I go to. This is who I am, and working with you. Let's tell the people how we met first and foremost. That's deep. Do you
Um,
remember?
yeah, we had a mutual friend. We don't have to say her name, but we had a mutual friend who introduced us because she knew that you had a book in you and you didn't know what to do. And so she connected us together, and we met at the library of all places, which was hilarious. We met at the library, and you're kind of like you're like a brother to me now.
The funny part about that story to me is that I was looking for her. She was my kindergarten crush. She was the girl that I said, whenever I get older, I'm going to marry her. And when I made my way back to Pittsburgh, I found her, and I had already started writing a book, and she was in it. So when we did link up, I did, give her some of the book to read and show her the chapters that she was in. And I remember she was at my house and she made a phone call. I was sitting right there. I wasn't paying attention, but I heard the call. And she was telling somebody that her friend is a writer and he's writing a book and it's amazing. And she has to connect me with that person. Years pass. The book is done. I don't know what to do with it. I'm not a writer. It's my first time attempting to write anything creative writing. I was a poet. I was an MC. That's all I knew. I sat down and wrote this book out of a challenge. When I was going through the trials and tribulations of waiting for a gastric bypass surgery, which was a lot, I said, if I ever make it through this, because I thought I was going to die. They thought I was going to die too, to the point where they didn't think my heart would be strong enough to make it through the anesthesia, let alone the rigors of the surgery. So I said, man, if I make it through this, I'm going to write about this. And the way that I was working at the time, it just gave me a lot of downtime at this one particular point in time. I started writing. I didn't intend on turning it into anything. At the most, I said I was going to write about it. At the most, maybe some poems or something. End up turning it into a whole book. I didn't know what to do with it. And I was terrified. But I started going on Facebook and asking for book editors. And somebody had recommended you. And then when we hooked up, we went to the library and you said to me, "You don't know who I am, do you?" I said, "No." You said, "I'm so-and-so's friend. She called me one day. She was at your house and told me about your book." I was like, oh.
Wow. I didn't
I
remember
like,
that part.
yeah. I was like,
I
we
didn't.
ain't even friends no more. I ain't even friends with her no more. But
Yeah, I
I've been
haven't
friends with
talked
you.
to her in a long time
I've been
either.
friends with you. And we spoke offline about this. I didn't want to put this book out. I didn't. I was terrified to do so. The things that I was talking about in there, it was a lot of shameful things. I mean, to admit that you were a faulty human being at one point in time, that first and foremost, a huge part of this story, the I guess the catalyst for everything that happened in my life was the child molestation. And it's something that just crushed me as a child to the point where I buried it and there was no remnants of it. I mean, there were certain behaviors and things like that that I didn't understand until I got older. Like it affected certain things intimacy wise with women. I always felt like maybe this act I was being disrespectful or some along those lines, and it all stemmed from my abuse. It wasn't until I went for gastric bypass surgery and had to go through the prerequisites of the surgery where I sat down with a psychiatrist and she asked me, "How did you get here?" And of course, I'm like, "I drove." No, 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 no. How did you get here? Because it's part of the, no, why are you here? Because I was addicted to food. Why? And she just kept why. Why? Everything I said was just a why. And I had to sit back and it came to me the very day that my food addiction started.
Mm.
Um, I was on a school bus. Matter of fact, I was in school and I was a loner. I had one friend. And it's ironic, I found that friend on Facebook
Did you?
maybe about 3 months ago. Yeah. Yeah. Roland Saunders.
I was gonna ask what happened to him.
Yeah, it just so happens I found him. We're mutual friends. But he had chicken pox or something like that that was going to hold him out of school for the rest of the year. And I was really sad. You're talking about a 7-year-old kid, the only friend that he could resonate with, and he's gone. So my teacher kept me after class to tell me that Roland had chicken pox or whatever it was that he had, and he was going to be out of school for the rest of the year. I was devastated. Last went to the school bus, and I had a bully. I had a bona fide bully at the time, and I was holding up the school bus, so kids was yelling out the window at me, and of course he was the ringleader of it all. I got on a bus, and he threw a he threw something at me, and it hit me in my face. I was a very passive kid up until that point, but something in me just snapped because, mind you, I'm being abused and molested, and nobody knows. And there was a loss that day, and something in me snapped, and I attacked him. I gave him the business, but because I was the last one on the bus driver grabbed me. When he grabbed me, kicked me in my face, swore my eye, my nose, my lips up, and ironically, that girl that was the link between us, she gave me a Kleenex to wipe my nose off, and she was very kind to me, and that's why I never forgot her. But
Mhm.
it's that
She's
memory
a
came
very
back.
she's a very pivotal part of your story. I mean, in so many ways. If you have the opportunity to thank her on this other side, now that your book is done, I think I would encourage you to go back and thank her, because when she gave you that Kleenex that day on the bus, and y'all have to read the book to understand what happened, she showed you a level of kindness. Then years later, she gave you a Kleenex and me.
Yeah, and it wasn't even just the Kleenex too. It was almost like a Forrest Gump Jenny moment where
Yeah.
she literally sat. School buses, the seats are a certain way. Then you have the aisle, and then there's a seat on the other side. I sat on the very outside of the seat, and so did she. And she didn't say anything. She never said a word. She just gave me a Kleenex, and I cried, and I wiped my face, and she held my hand. I
Uh,
was able to, I was able to tell her, later on, even as far back as months ago, I was able to express my gratitude towards her, for being that to me in that moment, because I needed it. But when I went home, um, I was pretty much by myself. I hope I'm not giving away too much, but we're talking about the very
you give
start.
away a lot of the book, but um, I'm gonna let you continue.
I went home. There was no comfort. There was, my mom was working, grandma was working. My grandfather had a stroke, so he wasn't mobile. And I was looking for comfort. And I found that in my grandmother's pound cake. And
Yep.
that started my food addiction. The
And
food, it
that's
didn't.
enough because you're gonna give too much.
Okay. But yeah,
Um,
I found comfort. And that's
she
where it all
was
started.
famous for her pound cake.
She was. And that pound cake is still in the family, even
Is
after she's gone. So I'm one of the gatekeepers for that cake too. So people always come to
wow.
me and ask me, for the recipe. And I make it sometimes periodically just because it's a reminder.
So Taurus, I mean, you wanted to talk live today.
Yeah.
You wanted to do this. What is it that you want the viewers to, the people who are watching us and those who are going to come back and watch the replay, what do you want them to know?
That you're a big reason behind this. Like I started off, I didn't want to do this. I didn't want to write this. I didn't want to put this book out. There was too much shame. There was too much embarrassment. There's a template that we as men, we have, that we're not supposed to be vulnerable. We're not supposed to cry. We're not supposed to show emotions. And I broke that rule 100,000 times in this book.
Yeah.
And for that reason, I didn't want to expose this. I didn't want to expose anything that happened to me. But because I wrote the book, it was just 2 years ago that I was able to come to my mother and my father and tell them what happened to me. And if it wasn't for the book, I wouldn't have been able to do that. And you kept pushing me for years. Like that book was done in what, 2012,
Yeah.
and you just kept pushing me. Why? What's up with the book? Are you writing? Are you writing? And I'm just like, she won't leave me alone about this book, man. But
So let me just put a pin in this because I am a scribe coach. And I do believe that it's important for people to record their history. And I can't work with just anybody. When people are brought into my life for me to work with them, or if they say that, I want to write a book and, this is, and their story resonates with me, I can't let you sit on that. I can't let you be stagnant in that because your story is going to free other people. Now, 2012 was the last time that I looked at the book. I have not read it fully until um, Monday when you called me and said, Coach, I have an idea. I want to do an ebook. And Wednesday is the anniversary of my stroke. Okay, what's that have to do with me? Okay, I need to make sure that Taurus can get his book and see this on in the internet as being completed by Wednesday. So what did I do? I went into coach mode. Your book was almost 500 pages. I needed to condense it and cut it down. I needed to take out a lot of the like brand names because when you get real big, we don't want people to come and try to sue us because we use their name of their company in your book or whatever. And so I went into grind mode and I was working and working and working for hours and hours and hours. And something in me would not allow me to stop. And I don't do that for everybody. I don't do that for all of my clients. I give, I think I gave to you as much as I gave because I've seen over this past 2 years where you've had so many ups and downs in your life, and something in me wanted I in my power was the ability to allow you to know that you did something, you accomplished something. And so I pressed in to make sure that you could get to the end. And we're not talking about just the last 3 days. I'm talking about you saying, I want to do an Indiegogo campaign. And I put my whole heart into that Indiegogo campaign, and three people donated, and we raised $117 out of the money that's not even a fraction of the money that we needed to get the paperback copy. And then when you called me, you were like, it's going to break me. Like, if I don't raise this money, it's going to break me. That was the switch. And so I needed to say, to the people who were watching, like, I wanted this success of this completion as much as Taurus did. And I invested my time, my blood, my sweat, and my tears because I want y'all to know that this is not just one man's story of overcoming morbid obesity. Like, this is really right now, today, his lifeline. Taurus, if you know Taurus, he may not tell you everything he's going through. He just said he only told his parents 2 years ago what happened, which caused all of this, which caused a lot of friction between you and your mom and dad, and you and your dad and your stepmom. Like, it caused a lot of friction in your life. So now they can sit and say, it makes sense. Then when they read your book, they will say, it makes sense. That's
yeah,
why I pushed you to finish. This ain't just for you, this is for your kids, this is for your grandkids, this is to break chains in your family. Like, this is important. That's why I pushed you. So,
what
like,
you
don't make this, go
what
ahead.
you without trying to give too much of my personal business, but it's a very important piece for you to know. I never forget, it was a Sunday and I was wounded, I was hurt, I was some things that happened in my personal life that just ripped my spirit from me. Now, if you know me, you know that I'm a father's father. Um, My children are everything to me. They're with me now. I'm a single father, proud single father. I'm very hands-on with them. I believe the navigation in their life is going to flow through me. I believe that, you know, as long as I'm here and as long as I'm around, they'll be okay. I was prepared to let them go simply for no other reason so I could blow my head off. That Sunday, and this is real talk, this is just me being very vulnerable and transparent. I was ready to do that. I had prayed for the strength to do it. I spoke to you on a Sunday, and you said, your book is done. It is? So it breathed a new life into me. It literally gave me something to live for. It gave me something to fight for. Um, you'll never know, well, you know now, but what that phone call meant to me, how much that saved my life, of you just giving me some sort of, because at that point in time, I was hopeless. I had a stroke, my second stroke. It was the ripple effect of me losing everything, from my job to my home to my car to finances to my family. Everything had fallen from under me, and I was just like, there's no need for me to be here no more. They're better off somewhere else. And it ripped my soul out. But that one phone call of, your book is done, was just like, okay, maybe it's not time to go yet. Maybe it's not time. Maybe it's not meant for me to take that route. So I did have a gun, and I threw that gun in the forest behind my brother's house. I ain't think about that since, and I just been moving forward. And matter of fact, from that very phone call right here, if I turn my computer around, you see I'm working on book two. Close friends of mine, so, oh, you got your book is on the thing now. You gonna celebrate? What you gonna do? Nope, nope. I'm dead. I'm serious. Don't take it wrong, but I'm treating this like a drug deal. Like, I'm not going to go and buy a whole bunch of jewels. I'm gonna go and get another pack, and I'm gonna flip that pack. So in other words, that book is done. I remember when they had an interview with Kobe, and I think this is after his first or second championship, and they asked him how he spent this summer. What did he do? How did he celebrate? Did he go this and go that place? And he said he took about a week off, and then right after that, he was right back in the gym. So I'm nowhere near what Kobe's drive is, but how could I even take a celebration when there's so much more for me to do? This second book is just as critical as the first one, if not more, because it gives more detail, and it's me stepping more into my writing, because I wrote that first book, I was winging it. I didn't know my voice. I was just trying something. Now I have full confidence of my ability as a writer and as an author. So this is a very important piece right here. I have to get this out. So there's no time to celebrate. It's right back to it.
So I'm gonna just put a pause in that. You say there's no time to celebrate, but there is time to recognize, and there's time
There's
to
time.
take a Selah moment. This most of this book you wrote on your phone. Like, let's not gloss over that you didn't consider yourself a writer, but you poured your heart into your phone. And on top of that, you wrote about things that were deeply hard to write about, which are really, really critical. So,
I'm on
um,
the edit, baby. I'm on the
the
edit.
baby talking. So, like,
Yeah.
hi. So, I think it's important to pause, and so you pushed me like, come on, we gonna do this now. And I'm like, dude, I'm tired. You had me working since 6 o'clock Monday morning. Like, give me a break, leave me alone. But I want to celebrate. And I want to honor you because not only you talk, okay, so I didn't know about the Sunday a few months ago when we had that conversation. I didn't know about that, but I know about the 4 other
That
times
was
that you
I
wrote
hadn't
about it in
spoken
the
to
book.
you. I hadn't spoken to you probably in about 2 months, and that was just my call to say goodbye to you. That was it. I was making my rounds that day. It was Sunday. Sunday is the day that I usually call and catch up with my people. What's going on? How you doing? Just checking on you. I was calling to say goodbye. That's all. Because I
I
knew what
didn't
I
know
was going
that,
to do.
Taurus.
Of course you didn't. No one knows half the stuff that happens within me. I keep it to myself. Yeah.
I didn't.
No one knows.
Well, thank God for the Holy Spirit
Indeed. Indeed.
because I wouldn't have known that. And I think it just brings up a whole nother thing about mental health and about, Black men and the things that y'all deal with. And
Because
it,
nobody thinks that we go through the things that we go through. And it couldn't be more false. And I didn't come from a position of taking a stand of, you know, this is for my brothers and all that. But one of the crimes of this was not reading my own book. I wrote it and I was like, get it out of here. It's out of me. It's like kind of like the Prince philosophy of it. Prince record a song, he throw it to the vault. It don't exist to him. It don't mean nothing to him. On to the next one. And that's how I dealt with this book. I did not read it until you sent it back to me with the edits. And I was like, I wrote this? I didn't even recognize it. Of course I recognize the story, but I'm like, I wrote this?
if I would have
Wow.
had time, I'm gonna tell you this. If I would have had more time, and for those of y'all who buy the book, by my standards, it's probably about 93, 95% of what I wanted. But Taurus only gave me really 2 days, 2.5 days to get it to the place so that we could upload it by midnight last night. And I wanted to rename all of the chapters Prince songs. And I didn't
You
have
should have.
time. I didn't have time because I don't know his catalog. And so I didn't have time to
You should
do
have
it.
asked me.
You
I
didn't
could
give
think
me enough
about
time.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Don't yell at me. I remember you used to always tell me, we used to text each other, and you would tell me, stop yelling at me through text.
I'm yelling at you in real life. Like you didn't give me enough time. But it's okay. I think that's one of the things that I learned from this past 3 days is that you have to move when God tells you to move. Period. And
And I made no mistake about it. I know me. I know who I am. Um, I need maternal love around me. I feel comfortable with sisters. I have a bunch of sisters that are not my sisters, including you at the top of the list. And there's a book written by someone called Girl Hold My Hand. I need a hand held too. You know what I mean? Like, don't just, limit it to the women because I'd be the first to tell you, I don't know what I'm doing. I sit down and I write. Other than I couldn't tell you that I know what a run-on sentence is. I'm writing, I'm looking, okay, does a semicolon go here or a comma go here? What is,
I mean,
I
you
don't know
you
what I'm
are the
doing. I
king
just
of
write.
commas. I must say, you had lots of commas in there, and there's probably like 3 chapters that I didn't get to really clean up. But what I was about to say was the thing that I learned is that for you, it was the goal, and we needed to hit the goal. And even if in hitting the goal, the end result wasn't perfect and it wasn't everything that we wanted to do, we hit the goal. That's the bottom line. We can always go back. There'll be somebody who's going to read it. They're going to tell you all the mistakes that they found. Thank you. And then we go in and we make those changes. I don't take criticism. You know, I used to get so upset when people be, you know, they would read my, oh, you got mistakes on page 27 and 89. Okay, thank you. Now I can go in. You did the work for me. We look at stuff so long. You're talking about, I've been looking at this since 2012, you know, and like you, I put it to the side. So me reading it since Monday and up until last night at 11:53 when I called you, the story illuminated itself to me differently because you've been through different stuff since 2 years
So
ago.
I wanted to ask you, I wanted to ask you that too. Like, as not just the editor, not as my sister, not as my writing coach, but just as a person reading it, did it hit you differently this time than it did when you first read it? Like, how did it make you feel? Like,
Um, I made a list of questions as I was like going through of people that I wanted to know what happened to this person and what happened with this situation. And
pull the questions out. Let's do it.
no, we're not doing it. We'll do it another time. And the reason why I say that is because I wanna sit in the moment. Like I don't wanna be distracted by all my questions, which are personal questions about people and stuff, situations in the book, which will take you
Being
to
nosy.
another place. Yeah, just being nosy. But because of, for me, it was Wednesday is the anniversary of the day that I had a stroke last year. And so I resonated with the fact that you had a stroke last year. My mom had a stroke. Your grandfather had a stroke. I have hypertension. And so for me, it was the thing about life is but a vapor. And so as I'm reading it and I'm going through these situations that you've been through, and I'm like, how many times does God have to spare your life before you recognize that there's something that you're supposed to do? And part of what you're supposed to do is finish this book. And so, and
That's what
then, huh?
that's what God told me when I was in the hospital. I was bitter. I was very bitter. Like, I'm at work and I'm unconscious. I'm in and out of consciousness. And I hear two ladies walking past. I hear two voices. And I hear one of them say, "Sir, you okay?" I think he's having a stroke. And I'm shaking my head. Nah, no, I'm not. No, I'm not. And then I go out of consciousness and different people keep coming and the paramedics come and they're like, "You're having a stroke, buddy." And this is the second time I'm hearing this in life. You're having a stroke. I knew as I was laying on that ground, I knew that life was about to get real jacked up for me. I've been here before. I know what it looks like. I know loss is coming. It's just something to expect. That's before I even got to the hospital. When I got to the hospital, I was just bitter. I was just in a dark place. But God said to me while I was laying in the hospital, "Say, bruh, don't judge my God voice. This is my God talking to me. Say, bruh, you ready to stop playing around yet? Huh? How much more you got to go through to learn that these jobs you working ain't for you? You're not supposed to be a payroll slave. I gave you a gift to tell your story. Go tell your story, man, before I take more from you."
So you talking about you had morbid obesity, you know, chronic heart failure, your pacemaker went off 2 weeks ago. I'm like, all these health conditions. But in the midst of that, God has given you books and TV shows and all these other things that are in you. And so that is what drove me. and I couldn't. I write in my book, Girl Pray for Me, about like having the pit bull mentality, like you latch onto that thing and you don't let it go until you get it. And that's how I felt like going through this process this last 3 days. We talking about everything was accelerated from 2012 up until Monday. And we've had other things that you tried to do to get exposure and eyes on this. And then I guess the Lord told you, this is the plan. This is the way we're going to do it. And then that pulled me into a level of work that um, was new. It was new for me. Like this was new for me. I've never wanted to give somebody something more than I wanted to give you at midnight, your book being done.
And I appreciate and love you for that. You never
You
know
better
how
make
much.
sure I get all my
And
resources later when you sitting on that big stage. You shout me
no
out
doubt,
because
I'm not shout you out. You're gonna be there with me. I'm be like, sorry, husband, sorry.
you're gonna have to take him too, because this is much. This is much, Taurus. So, well, I think Taurus is stuck over there, and we've been talking for quite. Are you coming back? You back?
Huh?
I was trying to hang up.
You was?
Yeah, but what I was saying was before you froze was that yeah, you're gonna have to take him and my babies too when we go
Yeah.
to Italy to the National Obesity Morbid Council of Obesity. I don't know what they call it, but we're gonna go somewhere and you're gonna speak to the real big people about overcoming morbid obesity. And there's
Yeah.
dream bigger. This is something that you
The book, to me, the book is just a catalyst for everything else that's coming. And that's why nothing else ever made sense. Being an MC, being braggadocious, talking about how nice I am on the mic. And even when I was in the industry, I was still trying to figure out how to be
for real this time. I don't know if he's coming back, but if he does come back, we'll finish the conversation. But I want to thank y'all for watching. Those of us who are watching, if you're watching because you love Taurus, go buy his book. It's on Amazon. If you find mistakes, don't judge us. He only gave me 3 days to get it to the place where it was. It was 500 pages, y'all. 500 pages. Okay, say what you're saying, and then we hanging up.
yeah, messages were always important to me. Just, rapidy rapping, it just, I was good at it, but it just didn't fulfill me. Now I understand why the weight came. Now I understand why no record contract ever panned out the way that it was supposed to. And there were quite a few because I was good at my craft. This makes more sense because I have the ability to go and talk to people and help people. I want to talk to obesity people. I want to talk to children that have been molested. There are grown men sitting in prison right now because of what they went through, the same thing that I went through.
Yeah,
They didn't have that voice. They didn't have that ability to express what it was they went through because it's traumatic. All I want to do is just use my gift to tell somebody, hey, you're not alone. You have the ability to go this way. You don't have to go that way. I've been through it. Let me be your guide to not go that way. Because trust me, going this way will hurt you. And that's it.
well, let me tell you some of the comments that, you know, Latifa said, we are looking at an overcomer. And Ladina, she's been commenting the whole time, and I appreciate her for that. One of the things she said was, when God speaks, we need to act. And so we're going to end on that. If anybody is watching this and God has told you that there's something that you need to do it. Because like Taurus said, God gonna come back to you and say, how much longer, bruh, you gonna not do what I told you to do? And how much more do I need to take from you? Yeah, I don't want to have that conversation.
After I already showed you the way, I done already gave you the vision and showed you what it is you need to be doing. And you still want to do this? Okay.
Yeah,
That's not good enough? Okay. Let me make it happen the second time. House, car, family.
Oh no.
You get the picture now?
You got the
You
picture.
get the picture now? You ready?
You got it.
There
Thank
was
you. Go ahead.
I forget the movie, but it's very symbolic to my life. Somebody, I forget who, I don't know if it was a Samuel Jackson movie. I just remember the scene, and somebody wasn't trying to comply with somebody's wishes or something like that, and somebody's child got killed. And Samuel Jackson went to go see him after his son's funeral. And I think it was like some mobster movie or something like that. And he simply said, "You ready to talk now?"
Oh.
And it's like I'm pretty much letting you know, yeah, I did that. I killed your son and whatever. And are you ready to talk now? And that's how God was. God was like, so, bruh, what you going to you ready now? Have you lost enough yet? So yeah, when you hear that voice of God, you better move on it before you can't move. So I'm saying.
Well, thank you, Taurus. I think there's more conversations that we need to have, but this was a good opportunity for us to tell the world that you did it. You finished. And go read it, y'all, and leave them some reviews, and we'll come back, Taurus, and we'll talk again after people have had the opportunity to read. But you are an author now.
I'm an author now. No thanks to you, because without you, I wouldn't have been able to do none of this. I don't
Well,
think there's anyone else that would have taken the time, patience, understanding of what it is I personally needed, because I needed it to save my life. That's what I needed. And you helped me with that in ways that you'll never know. And I got to get off here before I start getting teary-eyed. I don't want to.
it's okay, Taurus. You got a lot to celebrate.
Some
You
dust in here, so
play too much.
I'm
It's
serious,
okay.
because you don't know how I've been holding back my emotion all day, and it's thank you.
Grateful. You're welcome. I'm grateful to have been a vessel used by God to remind you that your purpose is necessary and that you matter. I'm grateful that for our friend who connected us. um, and now we just present to the world Scribe Taurus Blannon. Y'all go get his book. All right, Taurus. I love
Thank you.
y'all.
I
Thank
love you.
you.
Love you, sis.
Love you more.
All right. Peace.